Good morning. Denise Dryden here on Bainbridge Island. It's a little crisp outside, but it's spring and the birds are chirping and it's fabulous. The flower blossoms are out and I wish I could take you on a little tour of how beautiful this island looks in the spring. So I wanted to talk today about the concept of being an icebreaker. What's an icebreaker, right? You know, and the one that comes to mind first is an icebreaker is someone who goes into a party or a group and sort of breaks the tension, right? They just you come up with a question, you come up with something a way to introduce yourself. I'm going to go a different direction, which is that an icebreaker, and I've got my little Wikipedia, of course, is a special purpose ship or boat designed to move and navigate through ice-covered waters, polar waters, right? And it provides safe waterways for other boats and ships to follow. So this concept of being an icebreaker is pretty dynamic because it requires three things to be an ice-breaking ship. It means that you have to have a strengthened hull, you know, really strong body. You have to have an ice clearing shape, which is rounded and it doesn't, you know, it's not pointed and it doesn't plow in and get stuck. It's rounded and it breaks apart. So it's all about design. And it has to have the power to push through sea ice, which is sort of like determination and power, right? And so when we're talking about being an icebreaker, we're talking about some really courageous naval equipment that can go into really uncharted territories where it's stuck, where it's solid, where we need to be able to open things up and send them through. So a few weeks ago I spoke about X marks the spot, Generation Xers, and the lay-in of the indigo energy into that generation. And that was on March 24th, so if you want to go back and look at it, by all means, if you missed it, watch it. It's kind of fun. So an icebreaker is that sort of powerful baby boom generation at the tail end. So it's going to be, baby boomers are 1945 to 1965, so we're talking 1955 to 1965, and then, or 64, and then the 65 to 75 Generation Xers. You know, this is where the largest group of icebreakers kind of comes in, and then it picks up with the indigo energy always, and then goes in through the Generation Xers. So an indigo energy is swords, you know, warriors, change makers. They're the sort of boots on the ground, come in and get things done. They're independent minded, committed to change and growth. Yes, right? Can't really tell an indigo what to do. They're willing to leave family systems that are not healthy, work systems that are not healthy, marriages, churches, communities, and they're willing to venture out on their own and create something new because they only know how to go after something that is in alignment with them. So an icebreaker dislodges old solid mass. Think about that. They crack it open, they break it apart, belief systems, traditions, programming, imprinting, so that others can follow. An icebreaker breaks apart stuff so others can follow. They're pioneers, they're rebels, and they're warriors. They're also the enormous change makers that have pretty much taken us into the culture we have now. Icebreakers are masters at movement and anticipation, if I can get that word out, and problem solving. They relocate, they change partners, they change careers. They are looking at, if this doesn't work, what does? So they leave old vibrations and resonances that do not feel good in their body and are no longer in resonance with them. So what I've been able to do, especially in the family system work I do, is take the personal out of it and use words like resonant or dissonant. Is it in resonance or is it in dissonance? Is it congruent or is it incongruent? Can you feel it in your body? Does it feel lined up or does it feel out of alignment? These are the terms that are not personal about the other person. It's just saying this is what my body feels. So when we break open the old, rigid, calcified mass, this is kind of what happens, right? We create liberation on a cellular level. We just explode with freedom. Freedom to breathe, freedom to stretch, freedom to grow, freedom to expand, freedom to feel our bodies and feel our emotions. We also have the freedom to let go of shame and betrayal. Old stories, old secrets, old histories no longer are embedded in us. We release them. So we step out of the victim. So this is fabulous work. When we plow through, when we break things apart, when we dislodge them, we break out of the victim. I came up with a tarot card, which you can see right here, which is the Three of Swords through the Osho Zen, which is when you can feel, when you can start to let your emotions out, you start to break apart all of the calcification that builds up around you, and you start to free yourself and come out. And it's fabulous work. So you step out of fear. You step out of fear and access to the energy that's on the other side of fear. Any of you who've ever done something you were terrified to do, whether it's jump off of a rope swing or ski off of a cornice or have a really difficult conversation with somebody where you just say, no, I'm done. Those are the kind of things that when you do that, there's so much energy and freedom on the other side. It is magnificent. So why now? Why are we talking about icebreakers? This is the work that I've been doing for the last 10 years, is that the children that were born from 1985 forward, they're different. They're really different. And what I've been doing is helping the therapeutic, psychological DSM world understand what these differences are. So check in with yourself. You can even close your eyes as I describe these children and let me know what you think. They're vibrational resonance beings. They feel, they hum. They can tell you what feels good, and they can tell you when things are off. They can tell when people are lying. They can tell when people are pretending. They learn differently. They're not great at linear education. They're multidimensional learners, which means that they go in on competencies or they come in at projects in a different order, so they aren't going to look like they have executive functioning skills. They're energetically sensitive. They're sensitives, empaths, intuitives. They're super intelligent, bright beings. They're creative. They're observant. They notice everything. And they fight against or isolate from that which is out of resonance. This is where you see temper tantrums. This is where you see acting out. This is where you see either full-on explosions or isolation. They just cannot do it. So when you are parenting these new generations, the old ways just don't work. Because I said so, or because this is what happened to me when I was growing up, or my father spanked me, so it never killed me. All of these kinds of concepts are not going to work with these children. You can't impose your past, your fears, or the old ways onto them. They won't take them. Those are yours. You keep them over there. I don't want anything to do with them. You need to let go of control and show them who you truly are. We can't control their education, their friends, their health, their drug use, their experimentation, their sexual preferences. We can't control anything. And it isn't our role to control. It is our role to get to know who they truly are. To relent and release the old expectations and fears you have about them and their future. I hear over and over again, if I don't do this, then I'm going to end up with a 30-year-old playing video games on my couch for the rest of my life. And I think, says who? They're just as anxious to get out of the house as you are for them to leave. Give them tools. Let's start giving them tools so they know how to navigate and live on their own. When you do your work, you come into your own balance, your own homeostasis, and then these kids will come to you. They're just waiting for you to stop doing all of the old paradigm things that don't work anymore, and to stop forcing them on them so that they can breathe and that they can find out if they even like you, right? Well, we know that they love you, but whether or not they like you and the control you have over them, this is a different strategy. So you are most likely an icebreaker in their world. You're the one who's plowing through and saying, yeah, your grandparents were this, or living in this town wasn't good for us for this reason. And you start to shift and move so that these kids have an opportunity to do something different while you're forging ahead, clearing the ways so that they can have freedoms, so that they can have some certainty of what's possible for them. An icebreaker, wow, you are now in times of really big change. So ice breaking is more important right now because we need freedoms from lies, freedoms from secrets, freedoms from shames that have been hidden in family systems for decades. We have behaviors and choices that need to be illuminated. And we are seeing this over and over again, whether it's the Harvey Weinsteins, the Me Too, the, it's gone. I'm not going to come up with another example right now, where somebody who's been doing something for a long time, whether it's an entire industry, an entire gender, is now saying, you know, that doesn't work anymore. So we're illuminating behaviors and choices that don't work. Our old wounds are coming to the surface saying, so here they are, what are we going to do with them? And this is what is possible when you break through the ice. Those go away. So the icebreaker is a kick-ass job. I got to tell you, I am a icebreaker. As you can probably tell, I've been doing this for a long time. So it requires us to be awake and alive, to actually thrive in the world. You can't be an icebreaker when you're going, is it okay if I go that way? Or if you go, bam, here we go. You need to have a strong body, and it has to be well nourished. You know, whether it's yoga, whether it's nutrition, understanding allergies, staying away from foods that poison your systems. You have to have a really strong body. And you have to design a life with stability and features for change so that you can do change integration, change integration, change integration. And you have to have power to push through and clear the things out of the way so that your children and your grandchildren and the future generations have something ahead of them. That's what we're doing. We're breaking through all the old mass that is no longer useful. So when you love yourself and you love this role and you love, you know, what you're doing, you can almost taste what's possible in the future. You could almost. And then something will come up and you're like, oh, this is so hard. It's so heavy right now. And then you have to just get out of your chair and go break some ice, right? So if this is what you want more of, and you want to learn how to do this, or you want to be coached on how to do this, give me a call. You can find me on DeniseDrydenCoaching.com, and have a fabulous April. Have a fabulous time getting out there and breaking some ice. Take care.